Hello and good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. Welcome to our online discourse on internalized humiliation of marginalized minority women in South Asia, a conversation with Cynthia Stephen. We've been waiting along for this. I'm your host, Furqan Ahmed, working as Senior Research Associate at SARIM. It is a moment of honor for us to have you, Miss Cynthia Stephen, with who will be you will be enlightening us regarding the theme today. So I'll be quickly introducing our distinguished guest today. Cynthia Stephen is the president and training editorial and development services trust, Bangalore, India. She is an independent researcher and policy analyst, trainer in economic, personal, and political empowerment of women. She is also known for her activism on human rights of vulnerable sections, including minorities, children, and people with physical challenges. Ms. Stephen is also an independent journalist as well. Her area of interests are gender, development, social policy, diversity, social justice, and inclusion, with a special focus on Dalits, especially with Dalit women. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being on board. I'll start off with our first question. So, Ms. Stephen, can you please tell us a bit about yourself and your background?
Uh, yes, I have mostly grown up in Karnataka. My native town is Bangalore, and my interests are very wide. Though I took a graduation in science, I quickly moved to the humanities and have been working as a journalist now since the as far back as in the 80s of 20th century, 1980s. And so my interest in writing and social issues continues to this day. Um, I'm also very keenly interested in issues of marginalization and the underdog, lives of the underdog. So my writing has tended to focus on that, and also my research work. And so when I moved from gender into the NGO, I mean, moved from mainstream journalism into the NGO sector, my work was mostly on, and that brought the issue of Dalit women. And that's how I have worked in that area, especially the area of the empowerment of all marginalized sections of women. And I've also, because I also continue to go on working and studying on women's studies, my focus has also been on uh, uh, writing and research in the area of women's studies, gender, women's studies, and so on. And I have some theoretical work also to my credit on the issues of marginalized women. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, it's lovely to know about your background and what your interests are. So, thank you so much for providing us that input. So, I'll move on to our second question. Can you please tell us more about internalized humiliation and how it affects marginalized minority women in South Asia?
The issue of uh, marginalization is a social reality, particularly in South Asia. And it so happens that I am specialized in analyzing gender and analysis of society in South Asia. And I think and my training, gender training, also is called the South Asia model, because it takes into all the unique aspects of society in South Asia, and also the specific uh, commonalities as well as the distinctions between the women's lives in, say, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and so on. So there are many commonalities of women's lives in South Asia, so much so that even the data at a global level will show that some of the socio-economic indicators for women in South Asia are the lowest in the world, including lower than sub-Saharan Africa, such as health indicators and education indicators, economic indicators. So this is the important aspect to keep in mind, that we have structural issues in South Asia which don't exist in the rest of the world. One. Secondly, the important aspect of uh, what you talk about of internal humiliation. It's not internal humiliation so much as societal humiliation. So there is a concerted systemic effort. I would go so far as to say, I have plenty of data to back what I'm saying, is that the societies in South Asia tend to be misogynistic. So the system is geared to disempowering women, to devaluing women, and to uh, destabilizing women's daily lives. That is why you will find, for instance, one simple thing is you will find that women are paid far less than a living wage in comparison to men, even if they're very poor, and also they have a gender burden at work. So there is a feeling among South Asian women that they're second class citizens, or even if they don't feel like that, society makes them feel like that. There are restrictions on mobility, there's restrictions on education at one level. Of course, we are a very diverse society, so not everybody, we cannot entirely generalize. Of course, the class is also a factor. So girls of a certain social class have the opportunities to grow and get educated, have access to health and other social benefits, goods, capital. I mean social capital. But others, in general, the system is not geared to that. And we can even see, for instance, how in certain societies in Asia, women are being banned from higher education because of some religious beliefs, as is just been announced by the Taliban in Afghanistan. Uh, and so there are many social factors which militate against women's whole citizenship and a sense of uh, uh, dignity and self-respect. So I would say that calling it internal humiliation is a kind of blaming the victim. I don't think they are to be blamed. I think the societal structures are responsible for for inflicting this humiliation on them. So I would like to correct the question and talk about how and why society humiliates women for no reason other than the fact that they are female.
Wonderfully corrected. Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for providing us all the issues that women are facing, especially in terms of education. The right to education are being limited. So I totally agree what you just mentioned. Quickly, I'm talking about some, since you related, you've indicated some of the background of what kind of issues that they face. So it's a follow-up question. So a study basically highlights that minority women are heavily subjected to psychological, physical, and sexual abuse. So owing to this fact, how does internalized humiliation manifest itself in the lives of marginalized minority women in South Asia?
So again, I would like to say that it is not internalized humiliation, but it is inflicted humiliation. Women don't necessarily internalize. In fact, I would say that women are very bold to resist humiliation. For instance, right here in my state of Karnataka, girls who were peacefully going to school and coming, suddenly the government had a change of heart and they started telling them not to wear the headscarf. And when that happened, the girls were the ones who resisted. They refused to take it. So it is an inflicted humiliation. I would say similar things are happening all over the country. So many other, not only in the country, but also in Asia. That women, there is an attempt to devalue women and lower their dignity, but they are the ones who stand up and resist. And so that is important to remember. And I think once we get that, once we get that straight, then I think everything else falls into place. That the corrections are not the and you talk about minority women. When you say minority women, I would say that the minority nature of the social identity could be religious, it could be linguistic. In India, we recognize linguistic minorities, ethnic minorities, and linguistic minorities. So it could be any of that, or it could be the when we talk about any caste minorities, in the sense they're minorities not in a numerical sense. They're a sizable number. They're in sizable number that Adivasis, that is, the tribals, and the Dalits are a sizable section of India's population. I think they come to more than 22%. But they're considered as minorities because their educational, their social and economic status are not in keeping with their real entitlements. So that is, if you look at it like that, then yes, there is, again, as I said, it is not an internal one, but an external process. And there is a there is a there is a way in which also one can understand about internal humiliation or whatever, but that is not for women alone. That's for the entire community, and I think that has to be understood in a broader sense and maybe beyond the scope of what we are discussing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's basically, I would like to add something. It's a 360-degree attack, right? So it's coming from all these sections. It's coming from all the ends of those societies that we are living in. So
Yeah.
I'll quickly move to another question. As your trajectory and area of interest revolves around gender, specifically focusing on Dalit women, I would like you to shed light on the contemporary situation of Dalit women in South Asia, and what do you think are the main factors behind continuing devaluation and marginalization of Dalit women?
See, this is the point. In South Asia, the Dalit identity is spread across the society. Caste is a part of it. And though numerically the Dalits are largest in number in India, there are sizable numbers of Dalits in Nepal, in Bangladesh, and also in Pakistan. And if I'm not wrong, in Pakistan, the Dalits are also religious minorities. So they're either Hindus or Christians. So that means they're doubly and triply marginalized economically, as well as on basis of gender, plus religious identity. And so one reads very disturbing reports of young girls being taken away and married off forcefully and forced to convert to Islam, both Dalit and, both Hindu as well as Christian women. Similarly, in India, the situation is very different. Here, there is a targeted sexual harassment of Dalit women, and a total impunity exists in the societal and the legal and administrative response to the sexual violence faced by Dalit women. And a lot of that happens in the context of struggles for rights and entitlements, mostly land. And as we know, the Dalits are denied access to livelihood resources such as land. They are forced to depend on other economically more sound communities for their livelihood. So they either agricultural laborers or brick kiln workers or domestic workers, mostly in the informal sector. And only in recent years in India, we have a section of Dalits who have been able to access education, literacy, school education, and higher education. And only now, 70 years after independence, you can say that we can see a few Dalits in higher positions in the government and in the professions like lawyers, doctors, engineers, social workers, and so on. So it has taken 3 generations for education to reach the one section of Dalits, not all. So there is a lot of disparity that is experienced in Nepal. I know that the Dalits are very assertive in the political sphere, and they are confined to the one section of the society, the hilly tracts, whereas the plains So the people, the Dalits who live on the plains are also in large in number, and also have uh, are politically little more aware, and because of their land issues and struggles and so on, and because of their inhabiting the plains areas, whereas the more privileged sections live in the hills, hilly areas, higher reaches of the country, which is a mountainous country. In Bangladesh, interestingly, I have done some research which shows that a lot of the manual scavenging that is carried out, the cleaning of society, of the toilets and so on, and the cities, is in the hands of the Madiga community, many of whom are Telugus from Andhra Pradesh. Similarly, as you know, that there are during all of us know about what happened. There was the Dalits from Pakistan wanted to come into India, but at gunpoint they were held back because their services to clean to keep the toilets clean was so essential at the time of partition. So you can see that
Yeah, I'm sorry.
across the
You
region,
were muted. Yeah.
there is a lot of similar experiences of discrimination and social disadvantage faced by Dalits, and especially so of the women.
Thank you so much. You've provided us the detail, you know, statistics or data of, for of almost 4 or 5 countries in terms of the issues that are faced by Dalit women. So talking about section, you mentioned about the section. So, how does intersectionality, including factors such as race, ethnicity, religion, class, and gender, contribute to the experiences of humiliation among South Asian minority women? I removed the internalized word now.
I wish we can see, instead of looking at them as objects of humiliation or uh, lack of dignity, we really need to see them as powerful actors in favor of themselves, their communities, their children. And I think they're very powerful actors. Some of the most powerful, articulate, intelligent, and capable women I know are Dalit women. Even if they may not have much education, I find that Dalit women are extremely resourceful in economically making a difficult uh, life, even though life is difficult, somehow they manage to do very, very hard work to give their children a chance. They may be victims of illiteracy, poor health, wage discrimination, violence, but they are not taking it lying down. Plus, they are the ones, even if they're not uh, uh, able to read or write, they are the ones who also articulate in terms of song. They culturally express themselves in terms of oral singing, oral poetry, storytelling, and recounting the memories and the experiences, and thereby transmitting the lived experiences of generation, intergenerational experiences and histories to the younger generation. They are the ones who do the compassionate work of midwives for the entire village. In even now, in most of the remote villages, the nurses, midwives are women, and because it is having to do with birth and blood and all that, it is only women of the lower castes who are engaged in this kind of health services, midwifery services in villages. Not everyone can afford to a hospital delivery, or informally there are a very old traditional dyes, as they call them, and they are the ones conducting the deliveries for their sisters in their villages. They may be only during the time of delivery they are able to touch the wife, the pregnant child, or pregnant woman or the baby, or enter into their houses. Once the delivery is over, and that period of 10 days or whatever happens where there is bleeding and all that, that time, till that time, they are allowed to provide the service. After that, they become untouchable again. So, still, that doesn't stop them from going ahead with what they have to do. So, I would say that it's the women who, Dalit women in particular, providing the dignity to society. At the time of COVID, in India, we had so many instances where it was the cremation workers, the Dalits, and I have actually seen girls also being a part of grave digging, being a part of dealing with the bodies, because there is so much of overwork. Mass graves had to be operated, and everybody was given due respect because of the compassion and the humanity that the Dalits in the graveyard, who are highly despised in our society, they were the ones who are providing dignity to the rest of the world. They are the ones who are providing cleanliness to the cities, to the society. They are the ones keep doing all the hard and dirty work, dangerously dirty work, because I'm sure it's the same in other countries in South Asia. In India, the men who work in sanitation work are not allowed to buy health insurance. Can you believe this? Because it is known that their lives are very short and risky. How structurally they are being discriminated more than once. Not only they, their young children. You don't find any man who's lived to a old age of beyond 60, 65. Most of them die young, either because of risk or because they have to drink to suppress their natural tendency of revulsion to their work. And due to that excessive use of alcohol from a very young age, they die in their 40s. So they are giving up their lives for the dignity and health and sanitation of our societies. Do we realize this? Is it not? Why should we talk about their humiliation? We should be ashamed of ourselves for creating a situation where very good human beings are being humiliated for our good, for the sake of our welfare. So I just want to say this in very strong terms. And I hope this is very much appreciated. Similarly, I know in Pakistan there is bonded labor of Dalits in the brick kilns. I know it. Yeah, it's well documented. Even we have the same situation in India as well, in certain parts of India. The Dalits are bonded, and for generations they are living in the brick kilns and in the they're not, and the children are burdened with their parents and grandparents' alleged deaths. So there is this is the violation of human rights, and our societies and governments and to really be ashamed of ourselves as places of work like the brick kilns and other places where bonded labor takes place. It has to be seen to be believed. I have worked in that area myself, and it is really not good. Similarly, the women and the families working in the salt pans in the coastal belt, they also face a lot of very adverse circumstances. I believe we really need to we really need to take heed of how people, our fellow beings, are living, and we really need to gear up to challenge society's inequalities. And
Absolutely.
in India, there are civil society groups which are taking it up, individuals that are taking it up, and I encourage our fellow members of SARIM in other countries of South Asia to also take this up and mainstream this issue and take it more seriously and see how we can become a part of the solution. Otherwise, others, you're part of the problem by
Absolutely.
claiming up our hands and think we are helpless. We become a part of the problem. We can't. We have the voice, we have the capacity, the skills, and the network to make at least people aware of what is going on. And that is
Absolutely.
why through SARIM, I'm bringing this awareness to the audience. I
Thank you.
hope this starts a lot of activity in this direction.
Yeah, your profile indicates that you are highly inclined towards ensuring the rights of Dalit women, empowering them. This can only be done through eradicating humility against minority communities. So, how can civil organizations work to combat the humiliation and empower marginalized minority women in South Asia? See, these are the steps that we just indicated that we need to take on. So, please enlighten us on that.
Yes. Well, there are two sides to this, as I've already pointed out. One is that we ourselves need to be aware that it is us who are devaluing humanity failing to treat our fellow human beings, valuable fellow human beings, with respect and dignity. So the problem is with us, not with them. First, that has to be understood. And secondly, it's also we cannot combat this from outside. What we need to do is we have to enable the existing efforts of the Dalits and other marginalized sections to struggle and resist their humiliation, to come out of it by supporting their efforts. So I know, for instance, there was an elderly man who used to be in charge of keeping our street clean, and so I used to find ladies from all the ladies in the street will call him and say, "You are not cleaning this place. You are not doing that," and they used to bully him a lot. I used to get furious, and he was a very nice and dignified person, and he would very patiently do, but he would not he would be patient, but he would also flare up and say, "What is this you're talking to me like this?" and all that. And then people would get annoyed. How dare this man talk to us like that? But I would after he's gone, I'll ask him, "You know how much he's paid? Are you willing to do the same work that he does for the same amount of money? What makes you think that only he is there to sweep the street in front of your house? He's in charge of the whole street. He's not your personal servant." So I used to take up cudgels on his behalf. And it's this, and then I have seen people, if they want water, I have actually seen this. We give water. If they ask for water, we just give them. They fill the bottle and give it back. I've seen women bring a bottle of water and leave it on the pavement, and these women have to pick it up. This is nonsense, utter treatment, which is which is really nasty. It is a really, the practice of untouchability. In India, it is banned, and there is a punishment for it. People should be made aware that they are doing this and they should not do it. In everybody's house, I'm sure it happens in Pakistan or in Bangladesh or in Nepal as well, when there is a domestic help who comes to do your work, if she has a cup of tea in your house, is she using the same cup that you would drink tea from, or is there a separate cup? Almost entirely in social practices that a separate cup is kept for them. This is another practice of untouchability. In our own house, in India, we say 2-cup system. Dalits are given disposable cups or asked to wash their own cups from the tea shop. But we are doing the same thing in our own house. This is not right. And we will not give them fresh, hot food. In North India, there was the system of dry latrines, and the women come and clean the latrine and go. And in the evening, they come, and in the early morning, after they do their work, they come and they stand there and ask for roti, basi roti only they will get. Not garam roti jo नाश्ते में बन रहा है वो नहीं देंगे वो लोग. They will give them basi roti. For tomorrow mornings, that woman Sita will come do dinner rotis for her. Sita cannot think of getting hot roti which is made for breakfast. This kind of very, very, very subtle and refined kind of, both subtle and refined kind of humiliation that is meted out is inhuman, and it dehumanizes me as a human being if I'm doing it. It devalues me. It tells me that I am not a good human being. We should all become conscious of this and stop practicing such egregious practices in our own homes against the people who serve us faithfully.
All I can say is, is just I don't have exact words to describe it, but I totally agree what you just mentioned, and you've touched upon those practical, uh, you know, those behaviors, practical behaviors that are, infused on them. So I totally agree what you just indicated. Almost done with our session. I'll be asking you our last question. So, in terms of solution, you've highlighted couple of, not couple of, like almost many issues in terms of uh, humiliation or the inflicted humiliation, I should say now. So, how can South Asian minority women work together at a societal level to mitigate and overcome the effects of marginalized humiliation on South Asian minority women and to promote their self-worth and self-acceptance?
The onus doesn't lie on the minority women to work for their self worth or acceptance. As I've been at pains to explain, a lot of the survival and resilience that the community displays in the face of such serious inflictions of the indignity upon the community is because they are women of high self-worth and value. They themselves value their families, their children, and others very highly. And I would say that the onus is not on them, but the onus is on the rest of society to provide them the means to enable them to do that and to support their efforts to develop their communities and their children, their skills, their professional capacities, their political aspirations, etc. So, as you know, in India, we have constitutional guarantees, at least at the local body level, for women from the marginalized sections, including Dalits and Adivasis and backward class women who are traditionally excluded from positions of power and decision making. And a lot of women do get into elected office, but a lot of them are there because their husbands are politically active and therefore they get the ticket. But my work has a lot of my work has included working in political empowerment of marginalized women and equipping them by giving them training, by enabling their personal growth and confidence, and by giving them the information they need, and by providing, for instance, I was part of a drafting committee which redrafted the Panchayat Raj Act, the act which gave the reservations to women. And in the second round of the act, which was we redrafted it after 25 years, and I was co-opted onto that committee so that I can put in my experience. So one of the big things I remember really with great joy and pride is that we said even if the women are not educated, we can provide a special assistant or a secretary to them to help them in their work, and the government will pay for that. We need not humiliate the women because they're not literate. It is not their fault that they're not literate. So we are going to, the government, the law says that these Dalit women who have difficulties in reading or whatever, or understanding the law, will have a trained person. The government will pay for them and we will work. We will also give them not, and by the way, not only the women will be trained, their husbands and other male members of the family who often interfere with their exercise of their powers, their political powers, their administrative powers, they are given training to tell them how they should not interfere with the powers exercised by their women, and we teach them, give them, because otherwise, because as I said, many of them are there because their husbands are politically active, or their fathers or brothers, or their if their husband dies, then the widow is given a ticket, and and on sympathy grounds the people elect her back. then she's may not be fully equipped for a life as a public servant. So for that, we are empowering and enabling these women, through the training, administrative training colleges in the state, in the district level. So these are the ways in which we try to enable women's dignity. That is one. And then there are also schemes, for instance, for the economic empowerment, for their educational empowerment. So we need to promote, the education, access to credit, access to training and business and markets for the economic, social, and political empowerment of marginalized sections of women. And not only that, we have to train the men also to be supportive of the women who are so uh, uh, coming upwardly mobile, because otherwise men can get threatened and can become their attitude can be harmful to the development of women's empowerment. So we need to work to bring about social change. We All these factors have to be carried out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Cynthia ji, for your valuable inputs. So, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us today. Do you have any final thoughts that you would like us to leave with, like any
I
message?
would I would very much encourage I would very much encourage institutions, universities, and research groups like SARIM to promote the leadership and the voice of women. For instance, you could have a panel with a lot of women, maybe not excluding men. We can have one or two men also. We are not like trying to be exclusionary, but there has to be a lot more space and voice for women. And if we can create panels of experts, there are lots of women who are in the academic sphere, who are teaching, who are researching, who are writing. There are professionals in science and technology. There are highly accomplished women in business. There are young students who are very brilliant and forward thinking. We need to promote women in all these spheres and enable their voice to come out. And SARM can play that kind of a role, I would say, in promoting or providing the platform which can encourage a more democratic, representative government. Because South Asia, almost all the countries, we have democracy. We can there are more men than women in elected bodies. We need to have more women in not only elected bodies but at all levels in decision making, whether in academics, in business, in finance, and in politics, and at all spheres. So that's what I would like to say. Enhance the human resources and the talents that our women have to the benefit of the entire society and the future
Absolutely.
generations.
Thank you so much, Cynthia ji, for providing us your valuable time. Like I mentioned initially, that we wanted to have this interview like at any cost. So finally, we did it, and thanks to you